Welcome to the Total Soccer Show and our first Champions League roundup of the season as we look back on round one of the group stage : the phasening. There was no shortage of big matchups, a lot of goals, a lot of bangers, and the odd upset to talk about too. So let's get to it straight away. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, the Taylor Rockwell. Da, 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 da. There you go, theme tune.
That was beautiful. That was lovely. That was sung melodically. And mostly I appreciate that you didn't give me a gentle headbutt before we started recording, a la Dani Carvajal.
Oh boy. Can you believe that Madrid got a penalty and turned that around? Wow. What a world we live in. Incredible.
What a penalty it was.
It was indeed. More on that very shortly, but not before we say hello to Graham Ruthven. Hello, Graham.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. I was going to ask you if you were singing along to the words to the Champions League theme tune, like Cristiano Ronaldo, which, as we established on this week's Patreon and just there in our intro, the words to the Champions League anthem are da 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 da. So it seems like you were doing a Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, different one? Sorry, my bad.
Yes.
That's, I can do my Cantina band as well if you want.
If you listen to it long enough, that's where it gets to. It's surprising.
I think, is Cristiano Ronaldo one of those people, obviously he's Portuguese and he represents the Portuguese national team, but is he one of those people that sort of transcends boundaries? Like Chris Martin from Coldplay, I don't consider him to have a nation anymore. He's got like an accent which is like, Citizen where are you from? Citizen of the world, right. Is Ronaldo in that category? That's why the Champions League anthem is his national anthem.
That's why he's singing along to it, yeah. He's no longer Portuguese, he belongs to Europe and the world. So.
Pending legal jurisdictions, yes, He's a citizen of the world.
He's also no longer in the UEFA Champions League, to be fair, but maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Does he know that?
He just shows up to sing it and then he leaves.
That would be great. Yeah, via the big screens in the stadiums. Don't give them ideas. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show is how you can support us. Bonus episodes, bonus video content, and access to our Discord server. How many of the cool kids? All of the cool kids are hanging out in the Discord server. Do join us in there. And as a reminder, we are on the YouTubes. If you want to see our beautiful visages, Graham's doing something on camera, which you'll see if you're watching along on YouTube. Do join us there. Smash like and subscribe, etc. and so on. Let's get to the Champions League action. Taylor, we're back. We're back in the Champions League. Lots to talk about here. We'll start off, why don't we, at the aforementioned Bernabeu. Real Madrid 2, Marseille 1. Kylian Mbappe with the brace for 10-man Madrid because of the incident you mentioned earlier on. The winner coming from the controversial penalty you mentioned earlier on as well. And, of course, the opener from Mr. Tim Weah with the assist from Mason Greenwood. But Tim Weah scoring at the Bernabeu there. Good stuff.
We all had that on our score sheets, right? After he was playing fullback on a number of occasions, to have him scoring at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Not bad, not too bad. And it's a great run from him as well. Credit where credit's due. He has a couple different good opportunities in the first half alone. But for the goal, it's a blistering run. It's really good work by Mason Greenwood to win the ball in the first place and carry it forward. But Weah on the left makes a good 40-yard sprint to get around Greenwood and then be there for that kind of out pass that he then hits and buries in the back of the net. It's a great goal, and it was sort of representative of how this game went early on, which was chaos and a lot of sort of miscontrolled passes, miscontrolled touches, passes to the opposition team who then drove forward and had a shot or gave the ball right back. And it was really open, really chaotic. And then I think Madrid, as the game went on, started to control things a bit more, not just because they were getting penalties, but because I think they have a good number of talent to bring off the bench and kind of keep bringing into this team. Even when you lose Trent, you bring in Dani Carvajal, and when you lose Dani Carvajal, well, I guess you're without a fullback for the rest of the game.
Yeah, just going back to Weah, Taylor, I also spotted that run because it's really good recognition for him to freelance over to the other side, because obviously he's playing on the left, but the way that Greenwood makes that run, he then drags the Real Madrid defenders over to one side and he recognises the space, and the finish is it's a proper thwack into the back of the net through Courtois, which is not an easy thing to do. And there was another moment about 5 minutes later where Weah sort of lasers another shot towards goal, and Courtois makes a good diving save. So he was impactful in this game. And I called it wrong because I was sure that he'd been signed to play on the right side for Marseille as a replacement for Luis Henrique. That was signposted the position that I think a lot of people thought he was going to play for this team. And maybe Roberto De Zerbi is also an eye dominance dude, because the last 3 games Weah's played on the left and he's been an attacker as well. And yes, he's dropping into the back 5 when it's a 5 to help out defensively when needed. But he is up there as part of the front three if you were to plot him on a team sheet. So that's very interesting. Also interesting that he became the first American player to score at the Bernabeu, where his father also scored. And there was a quote afterwards, he was asked about that, and the quote from Weah was, "In 100 years, I didn't believe I'd play here. I grew up in Rosedale playing on a small turf pitch. Coming here was definitely a dream come true," which is all very nice. I'm not sure you can.
Years old, by the way.
Well, I was going that, and also, I'm not sure you can pull off the whole humble small town act when your dad won the Ballon d'Or and is the president of Liberia.
Yeah.
But you do you, Tim Weah.
I will forever remember and love the U.S. national team send-off video prior to the 2022 World Cup, where it's every player's parents like wishing them good luck, and it's, I think Weah is preceded by Walker Zimmerman's parents, who look and sound exactly like you expect Walker Zimmerman's parents to sound, of like, "Walker, we know you're going to do great out there, like, we're just so proud of you." And then it cuts to George Weah, like, not on a throne, but not on a throne, and it's just like, "Timothy, my son," and it's just like, okay, like, you are in a different world. I'm not sure, the plastic pitches argument is going to hold up.
Very good. Graham, any thoughts on Real Madrid and how they might go forward in this competition based on what we've seen so far? Obviously, Kylian Mbappe is a central figure to this team. Something that was put to him in an interview on CBS after the game as well, and he kind of went, "Yeah, I am. I'm really important."
Yeah, I mean, I found this game, just generally, I found this game really interesting because it felt like the first real test for Real Madrid under Alonso since the start of the season. And I know they've won 4 from 4 to start the league, but they have played somewhat within themselves in those games. And they've also played some bad teams. They've not really had a test yet. So this was a step up. And I don't think they passed the test with flying colours, although the numbers certainly favour them pretty heavily. I mean, I personally think the second penalty award was just downright silly. There was another one in the Juve Dortmund game as well. They almost happened in the same minute. I was watching the two games at the same time. So I don't know if there was some sort of brainwave that the two referees had there. But that must have been a sore one for Marseille. But I'm enjoying, even though they're not playing that well, Real Madrid at the moment, I am enjoying seeing this process pan out for Real Madrid and for Alonso. And you can see some of the things that are working and some of the things that aren't. I don't know if Alonso will be happy with the control of possession that Real Madrid had in this game, or the lack of control of possession in this game that they had, because it was pretty striking to see Marseille rock up to the Bernabeu and have more possession than them. And I still come back to the fact that Real Madrid haven't replaced your favourite, Ryan Bailey, Toni Kroos. And I know Arda Güler is doing a good job in the middle, but it seems like this season, since the Club World Cup, where Arda Güler was playing really quite deep in that midfield, he seems to have been moved on a little bit further up into a more advanced position. And I do just wonder if a midfield two of Tchouaméni and Valverde, as good as they are, I don't know if it's within their profile and their skill set to put their foot in the ball to take the sting out of games in the way that in matches like this Real Madrid would have liked when they were down to 10 men. One of the things that is working is Kylian Mbappe, as you kind of led me into Ryan, who really is the focal point of this team now. That was probably the case last season as well, where I think he scored like 35 goals. But you had Vinicius as well. It still felt like they were trying to fit multiple pieces into that forward line. I think Alonso is now just looking at this forward line as Mbappe and other players around him. Everything's funneled into him in the attack. He had 10 shots in this game. All of but one were inside the penalty box. By the way, Geronimo really made 10 saves in the first half of this game, which was a Champions League record for a half of football. That's never happened before, so he was a busy boy. But yeah, if you look at Mbappe and you look at his heat map from this game, it is very central. Like, maybe ever so slightly shaded to the left, but not as much as you might have expect for someone like Kylian Mbappe. We were told he doesn't want to play as a centre forward. He wants to play off the left, and that's, if you were to plot him, that's still like where he starts a lot of his runs. But where he's having an impact on the pitch now is in the middle and inside the box, and that is a big difference for Real Madrid in this team.
Graham, what did you make with that in mind of Rodrigo's performance versus when Vinicius comes on? Because Vinicius, I think, is obviously brought on to bring a spark in the second half and to try to go and find that winner. And instead it felt like a lot of the kind of more frustrating aspects of Vinicius Jr., like the take-ons that don't quite come off, the errant crosses, the errant passes. It didn't feel like he maybe covered himself in glory when he comes on.
Yeah, Vinicius is sort of struggling to find himself in this team at the moment. I think that even goes back to last season as well. There has undoubtedly been a knock-on since Mbappe's come into that forward line. I think obviously there's still moments with Vinicius where you can see he's at his best when he's got open space to dribble into, and he can get Real Madrid up the pitch quickly. Rodrigo is still very much on the outside looking in of this team. I know he starts this game, but I think that's just a little bit of rotation from Xabi Alonso. The winger that I was most impressed with in this match was Mastantuono, who became Real Madrid's youngest ever starter here. And he is someone that Alonso has really latched onto in this team, and I think it's fair to say that he is a first-team player for Real Madrid at the moment. I think he started their last 3 games, and I thought he was great in this match. And one of the things that Alonso, I have to imagine, likes about Mastantuono is he's really effective at forcing high turnovers. He did it twice in this game. Once led to him hitting the post himself, and then another, I think, led to him setting up Mbappe for a shot. So he looks like a good fit for an Alonso team. He's dribbly, he's bold on the ball, he isn't afraid to try something himself. And from what I've seen so far, his decision-making is pretty decent for someone of his age. So it really does seem like Real Madrid have got a bit of a star in Mastantuono, and I very much think he has jumped ahead of the pecking order, ahead of like Rodrigo and Endrick and Brahim. And honestly, at this point, maybe Vinicius in the pecking order. He's had a really good start to the season, and Vinicius is struggling a little bit.
Yep. I thought he was incredibly impressive, Mastantuono. I thought like some of the little like hazy quick runs through the box. He has one in the first half. I think it was like the 30th minute where he basically gets a loose ball, slaloms through and gets a shot off. I think, and just like he kind of creates chaos in the best possible way. So I thought he was really impressive. I can't wait to see more of him. I thought he was very representative of this Real Madrid team as well, where you have a lot of the established veterans whose names we know, but then you have Carreras starting at left back. He's 22 years old, I believe, and he's good in the defense, but obviously trying to take people on. I think he brings some energy. And then you've got Arda Güler, who's obviously pretty young, pretty unpredictable and fun in the middle. And I think there is an air of like young unpredictability about this Madrid team, where you also have kind of like veteran guile and know-how as well. But I think most impressive of all is Graham's pronunciation of Mastantuono. Mastantuono? I can't even do it. See, I didn't practice in the mirror like I'm assuming Graham did. How many times did you practice today?
At least like 1,000.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
All I did before recording this episode. Yeah.
I'm picturing you sort of like sitting down on the edge of a bed, pumping a dumbbell, saying it over and over again. Is that what you were doing?
That was it. Yeah. Good. But instead of a dumbbell, it was just air. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, so 15-time champions Real Madrid off to a good start here. I hate that was a penalty, by the way. The winning goal penalty there. That sucks. I don't know where else he's supposed to put his arms there, but hey, rules is rules, I guess. My other observation from this game is Istanbul was traditionally the island of misfit toys for soccer players, but when did Marseille become that? Because like Benjamin Pavard, Mason Greenwood, Kondogbia, Aubameyang, Weah, I suppose, Egan Riley coming on, the former Man City player. Like they're collecting an interesting group of players in France there.
And Geronimo Rulli as well, the aforementioned goalkeeper who made some saves and also created some chaos of his own. He kicks himself in the heels while in possession and almost gives the ball to Real Madrid about a foot from his own goal. There's the one in the opening minutes that the camera missed and then showed us on replay where they possess like right across the face of their goal and almost lose it there. He brought some chaos of his own.
Yeah.
It's a fun team. Unless you want like a comfortable win as a Marseille fan, in which case I think you're in for a long season.
Yeah, Matt O'Reilly as well, who I genuinely think is very, very good.
Yep.
Like it's a weird team and really might be the weirdest of them all. He has a game every so often, going back to his days in La Liga. He has a game every so often where you go, wow, this guy's the best goalkeeper in the world. And then you watch his next game and you go, no, he's not. He's very, a bit wild.
Fair enough. Talking about a bit wild, elsewhere on Tuesday night, Juventus 4, Borussia Dortmund 4. Goodness me. Lloyd Kelly, the Englishman who we were definitely all very aware of before the season started.
He took that personally, Taylor, Lloyd Kelly. He is on a mission, a one-man mission to win a Ballon d'Or out of spite, just to you.
My question was simply like, why don't I know more about this guy? And I think y'all's answer was, yeah, we don't really know either. And now I guess we're learning a lot about him. The man can't stop scoring. He should start at number 9 for England. That's what I've learned.
Yes, we got the absolute banger of, it was the opening goal, I think, in the Derby d'Italia. He got the lovely finish there, and he got the closing, the equaliser here in the 6th minute of added time. This game was 0-0 after 52 minutes. Dortmund were 4-2 up in the 86th minute, and it finished 4-4. Yildiz with another banger in this one. Graham, this was are Juve now the fun team? Have they become the fun team?
I'm not quite ready to embrace that reality, but on the basis of the last 2 games, maybe, because this was another wild match, and similar to the game against Inter at the weekend, there were some incredible goals. If you're either playing for Juve or playing against Juve, I think the lesson at the moment is pretty clear. Just have a go. It'll probably end up in the back of the net because Kenan Yildiz, and this was one of my biggest takeaways from this game. Kenan Yildiz, he scores another banger in this game. He's the real deal. Like, he's taken a big step up under Igor Tudor. He's using him as more of like a 10 than as a winger, as Thiago Motta was. And so much of Juve's attacking plan is about getting him on the turn and into the half spaces where he can, a lot of the time, get a shot away. Like, he has to be one of the best long-range shooters in the world. He's great for a banger, and as I said, we got one in this game from him just a few days after he scored a second one against Inter as well. So, yeah, Juve have all of a sudden become pretty fun. Dortmund obviously have that reputation well established at this point. We maybe should have known that this would be a chaos game. And they're defending when they're 4-2 up. As you say, Ryan, 4-2 up in stoppage time of this game. Their defending was crazy, like protecting, in inverted commas, that lead where they've sent so many players forwards at I think it's when it goes 4-3. So they've already had a warning at 93 minutes that, we better not let this game get away from us. They then send like 6 players forwards for the attack that leads to the equaliser. And it's Lloyd Kelly who's in the box for a cross because, like, just why not? Like, Juve are like, well, there's nobody back there, we'll just send players forwards, and they get the equaliser. So I'm not sure this result will end up costing Dortmund. They'll still feel pretty good about their chances of making it through to the next round. But, yeah, just complete chaos.
Yeah, there's a lot of soccer left in the phasing, so we don't need to worry about that just yet. But Lloyd Kelly with the, rather than the diving header, the falling header, I think we can call that. But it was a quality, an important finish.
Header.
Heroic header, it was indeed. Elsewhere on Tuesday, Athletic Club with a 2-0 home defeat at the hands of Arsenal. The Gunners subs coming in clutch for that one. Gabriel Martinelli scoring 36 seconds after making his appearance, and then fellow sub Leandro Trossard scoring a second late on. PSV Eindhoven fell 3-1 at home to Union Saint-Gilloise. Wow, that was one I don't think any of us saw coming when we talked about this in our previews. Dream start for the Belgian side, who won their first Pro League title in 90 years to qualify for this competition. So bravo to them. Very good indeed. Another away win for Karabag.
Yeah.
3-2 at Benfica. I think Graham's wearing his Benfica shirt today, if I'm not mistaken. Unexpected win for the team who went through 3 qualifying rounds to beat Benfica here, Graham, who are soon to be Mourinho's Benfica, as we
Yeah, I mean, that's the real reason I'm wearing the Benfica shirt today. He's back. The special one is back. I'm not entirely sure how he keeps getting jobs. But anyway, Benfica here with a pretty disastrous result at home, because I've watched a fair bit of Karabag over the years because they just seem to get paired with Scottish teams in qualifying a lot. I know enough to know that they're not a great team, so that is a pretty damaging result at home for Benfica. But we'll see what the special one can do. Probably nothing, because that's the way his career has been over the last few seasons.
Attaboy. All right, good luck, Benfica. One more game from Tuesday. Tottenham's 1-0 win over Villarreal. Tottenham's first win in the Champions League since 22-23, their last appearance. Villarreal's goalkeeper, Luis Jr. Not a good error on his part. Well, no errors are good, I suppose. He fumbled the ball into his own net. That was a rough one. Thomas Partey playing for Villarreal hours before appearing in court in London to face rape and sexual assault charges, to which he pleaded not guilty. Okay. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about Wednesday's games, including, but not limited to, Bayern Munich's big win over Chelsea. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our Champions League roundup. Hey, Taylor, Bavaria, should we go there? Should we talk about it?
Let's
Bayern
do it.
Munich 3, Chelsea 1. Chalobah own goal, followed by a brace from Harry Kane, one from the spot. An unmarked Cole Palmer, suspiciously unmarked Cole Palmer getting the consolation. And almost got another one. He got a goal disallowed later on as well. I think my takeaway, Taylor, Chelsea were pretty good in spells, but switched off too many times, ultimately.
Yeah,
in defense.
I think that is a very fair takeaway. Another sort of chaotic game at times. And I think when Graham messaged to say, like, this game has been very entertaining, but he used the slang of the children, I think I was maybe 10 minutes behind him. So for the opening 20 minutes,
Can you just tell him what he said, please?
I just said it was fire.
This game is fire, says Graham. And I said, indeed, young sir. But in the first 20 minutes, what I was like struck by is how it was one of those games for me where, like, the two teams are so talented and playing at such a high level and pressing so relentlessly that it looks kind of bad at the same time, because it is just sort of like, oh, like we're under pressure, we tried to pass, we're just going to kick it long. Oh, now we're under pressure, we're going to try to pass. Okay, now we're going to kick it long back. But that was like the level of quality and the level of intensity. And when you get that, sometimes it leads to kind of a just chaotic game from start to finish. Sometimes it leads to things really cooling down and getting kind of dull after those opening 20 minutes. And sometimes, as was the case here, you get one team who sort of yield. And I think that was Chelsea. And I think Bayern, for their part, continued to play at a really high level, continued to make smart runs, continued to have a lot of energy put into that attack. And I think it showed with the way they were able to take that lead. Chelsea with a lovely goal from Cole Palmer, a lovely team goal at that. But I think I definitely don't feel like I put enough respect on Bayern's name when we were picking who was going to win in our Champions League preview. And I come away from this game thinking they're pretty good. They're quite good, that Bayern Munich team. You heard it here first.
I think there's a good chance that Bayern have taken a step forward this season. At the same time, all three Bayern goals in this game come from lapses of some kind. I have real sympathy for Chelsea with the first goal, because kind of freakish in the way that it came about. So it's a free kick about 30 yards out, but Kimmich plays it against the referee, which then results in a drop ball about like 5 yards further forward. Chelsea are asleep or don't really recognise that it's going to be a drop ball. So the drop ball is taken so quickly, Kimmich can obviously like progress it a little bit. And because of that, Chelsea are just completely out of shape. So what ends up happening is you've got João Pedro up against Michael Olise, because João Pedro wasn't expecting that situation to happen within seconds. And obviously Olise takes on his man, gets to the byline. That was kind of the first time Olise had the opportunity to do that. And then his cross to the back post was a good one. So I have some sympathy for the way that panned out for Chelsea. Not so much sympathy for the third goal, which I heard some people saying like Bayern's press has forced that mistake, and like there's a bit of a press, like there's a bit of a push up from the back into Malo Gusto and like about the halfway line. But it's not that intense. Come on, like Malo Gusto should be able to take that ball in and not play it directly to Harry Kane on the edge of the opposition box to then guide a shot into the far corner. So there was definitely some self-inflicted stuff from Chelsea. As good as Bayern, where I think the two things can be true.
Harry Kane off to a good start, Graham, it seems, this season. Wasn't there a time where he didn't ever score in August and he always had a slow start to the season?
Yeah, seems a long time ago now. Although it's September now, but he did score in August. So
yeah, but I suppose my point being is he's come out swinging where maybe he didn't in the Premier League era.
Yeah, he seems very sharp to start this season, and not just in terms of his finishing. There was a couple occasions in this match where he just like ran past a teammate to provide an option at speed, and he just wasn't doing that in the second half of last season. There was a good piece by Seb Stafford-Bloor for the Athletic today that I was reading before we started recording, and it was talking about the difference from Kane last season to now, where there was actually a bit of criticism at a point last season where he was scoring goals, he was putting up the numbers, but in terms of his all-round game, wasn't offering a whole lot to Bayern, and that seems to have changed now. That might be down to better fitness levels. Maybe he's had more of a rest over the summer, although he did play in the Club World Cup, so I don't know where he found that rest. But yeah, it just seems a little bit sharper, more rejuvenated, and Bayern's forward line, when you add in Luis Diaz, who started really well this season, and Michael Olise. I think people are sleeping on just how good Michael Olise is. He was Bayern's best player last season. So much of their... Sorry, what was that, Taylor?
I said Lloyd Kelly-esque.
Yeah, that's
he wishes.
That's going to be the two for the Ballon d'Or. I just think he's Bayern's best player, and so much of their creativity and invention comes from him. And I just don't think there are many players out there who have his skill set of being like an orthodox winger who can drive to the byline, beat a man, but then also has the technical ability of a number 10, I guess. That's where he plays for France. He plays in a central position for France. So I think he's absolutely brilliant, and he's been even more important to Bayern with Jamal Musiala out injured. So yeah, I think Bayern are going to be up there as one of the contenders this season.
Yeah, but Bayern definitely have some weapons. Elisa, you're quite right, was excellent in this game. I did enjoy Harry Kane on the CBS post-match interview when he was asked about Chelsea. They were trying to get him to talk about it from a Tottenham perspective a little bit, I got the sense. But he was like, we know they're a very good team. They're the Club World Cup champions. And I thought it was an interesting framing. Do you think like some company was in the dressing room saying, "Come on, guys, get yourselves up. This is the Club World Cup champions we've got visiting today. We've got to put some respect on them and force some errors," which is what they did, I suppose. One fun stat, Taylor. Manuel Neuer, this was his 151st Champions League appearance at the age of 39. Chelsea's entire 24-man squad had 117 appearances at this level before the game. So he's got 30-something on all of them.
Wow. That is a crazy stat. Thank you for that, Ryan.
Cool, right?
It kind of blows my mind. I guess it's also not that surprising given the youth of this Chelsea team and how they've kind of been assembled, the erratic form of Chelsea at times. But it really does speak to the consistency of Manuel Neuer, even when he goes skiing and then can't play anymore. He comes right back and starts and looks really solid. And I think it speaks to the consistency of Bayern Munich as well. That is really ultimately what I think like differentiates on a lot of occasions, especially in the Champions League, is having like the presence and stability and the know-how from having been here so often in so many different ways. I think it's what sustains Real Madrid. We've talked about that plenty. And I forget that Bayern have so much of that consistency and just veteran know-how. And you can see it with Manuel Neuer. You can see it with Harry Kane. You can see it with Joshua Kimmich. There's just a ton of experience there. They are the second least likely team to be flappable, a.k.a. they are unflappable.
Yeah, high on the unflappability index.
What was Manuel Neuer's number?
151.
That's a lot. And how many appearances in the old European Cup does he have?
Did he play back? I think he played against Nottingham Forest in 1981. If I remember correctly.
It's a shining situation.
Yeah.
We go back to the founding of Bayern Munich, and there's Manuel Neuer in the black and white photo in goal.
Very good. Graham, do you know who Chelsea's next game is against in the Champions League?
Oh, I don't actually. Tell me.
I'll tell you. Jose Mourinho's Benfica. Ooh,
Sure.
Fun. That'll be fun. Very good.
I think that'll be fun, but I'm not totally sure.
There'll be narrative at the very least.
Yeah, there will
All
be.
right. Elsewhere on Wednesday, Liverpool 3, Atletico Madrid 2. Liverpool went 2-0 up against Atleti at home at Anfield. Sound familiar? Because it was. Liverpool, Atleti had them right where they wanted them, obviously, at that point because, I'll explain why in a minute, but they got it back to 2-2 before Virgil van Dijk got the injury time winner. It might seem familiar, listener, because Marcus Llorente got a brace here at Anfield. The exact same thing he did in 2020 when that game was also a 3-2 finishing result, that time to Atleti. Liverpool were also 2-0 up in that game. You might remember that game, listener, because it was the last full-capacity sporting event in the world before COVID shut down. I can remember where I was watching that one. I was in a public space, unfortunately. Not great.
That has brought up the sense of dread, Ryan.
Yeah.
Really, I'd forgotten about that. I hadn't forgotten the Llorente double, which is wild that he's done it again. I think he's scored 6 goals in the Champions League in his career, and 4 of them have come at Anfield. And I don't know if you guys have seen this. Julien Laurens was talking about this yesterday. Marcus Llorente's dog is called Anfield because it's named after the best performance of his career, and he's done it again. Like, incredible. Like, I don't know how that's happened, but he was very good in the second half.
It seems like a difficult dog name. Do we think it just becomes Annie? Anfield?
Probably.
He's got another dog called Hilly Dix. He's very Merseyside friendly.
Hecker Decker dog.
Yeah.
Then third dog, Boycott the Sun.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's all easy names to shout in a park.
Yeah. Anfield. That's an odd one. Anyway, great. Obviously, what do we make of this one? Isaac making his debut for Liverpool as well. And a lovely Diego Simeone red card at the end after Virgil van Dijk's.
What makes it lovely, Ryan, for people who didn't see?
It happened at the end of the game. It was, you didn't need to do it. Never needs to do it.
I actually don't really know what happened there because the camera obviously shown the goal and the Liverpool celebrations, and then it just cuts to Simeone and he's brawling in the crowd. And that fits.
Yeah, someone reeled him in the crowd, and he got taken in by it. That was all it was, right?
I actually don't know. I presume someone said something to him and he's taken it.
It was a Liverpool supporter. I don't know what he said, but I do know from the headlines that he is a debt collector who was banned from football for 3 years. So maybe he came collecting and Simeone didn't like it. Either way, always interesting to see a manager getting into it to that level.
What was he collecting? You was that season where you knocked out Liverpool in 2020-21 when Marcus Llorente scored a brace. We want that season back.
We gave you $1 million to acquire a floral outfit, and instead you've just gone all black. We want that money back.
I think he showed him a picture on his phone with a big box full of black suits. These are yours. I just took them. No, give them back.
Yeah, anyway. That'll get him. That'll get him.
Yeah.
But anyway, just a couple of things on this game itself. Yeah, Isak having his debut was the big pre-match headline. I thought he was okay in the 60 minutes that he was on the pitch. There were some nice link-up moments with Florian Wirtz, but honestly not a whole lot else. The real excitement of Liverpool obviously came much later in the match, because that's now 4 injury time winners in 5 games the Liverpool have played this season. I'm not convinced they've been very good to start the season, yet they have won every game that they have played, including this one. So imagine how good they'll be when they really hit their stride.
There you go. Mark of champions there, Graham. Mark of champions. Indeed. For Liverpool. Very good stuff for them. Another 5-goal performance for them. Elsewhere on Wednesday, Olympiacos with a 0-0 draw against Paphos. 10-man Paphos. Producing a pretty disciplined display.
When you've got David Luiz, that's 2 men, so they were back up to 11.
Only had him for 34 minutes, Graham. He succumbed to injury, unfortunately, in that one, so they didn't have him for long enough. Yeah, indeed. I'd love to shout out Slavia Prague's 2-2 draw with Bodo Glimt. Listener, if you haven't seen the equalising goal for Bodo Glimt in the 90th minute from Sondre Fett, look it up. Absolute banger. On the volley, hits the crossbar. The dream equalising goal in the Champions League for Bodo Glimt, who get a very well-earned point from that goal as well. So congrats to them. Inter with a 2-0 win at Ajax as well. Nice win for last year's finalists there. Marcus Thuram. He's in form, isn't he? With a brace either side of half-time. Both from Calhanoglu corners, actually. Italian set-piece FC incoming, possibly. The new Arsenal. Or do we call them Azione Studiata Calcio, which is set-piece FC in Italian.
Sounds good.
Does sound much nicer, doesn't it? Rolls off the tongue.
It sounds better than Get It in the Mixer, FC.
Azione Studiata means studied action, literally. That's what they call a set-piece. Even that sounds more thoughtful, doesn't it? It's great. It does. Very good. I like that one. And the last one to talk about from Wednesday, PSG's 4-0 win over Atalanta. Good start for the defending champs. Starting off where they left off, beating sides from Northern Italy by big margins in this competition. Kvaradonna's goal, Graham, don't know if you saw that, the goal for 2-0. Tasty.
He earned that nickname all over again with that goal. Not sure Yunus Musa earned much trust from Ivan Juric on his first Champions League start for Atalanta, giving away a pretty silly penalty to, I think, make it 2-0 to PSG. So let's hope there's better things to come from Yunus Musa.
What made it silly, Graham?
He just doesn't seem to. I can't remember who the PSG player is that he fouls, but it's like he doesn't even realise he's there, and he sort of like steps out and just like cleans him out inside the box. So it's just, when you are defending a corner kick inside your own box against PSG, you should probably be aware of your surroundings, and he definitely wasn't.
Yeah. Oh well. I'm sure Ivan Juric will have a word before he's fired, because I don't know how he keeps his jobs at these places. Anyway, I don't know, Taylor, if you noticed, PSG boss Luis Enrique was watching the first half from up in the stands to get a better view tactically. Yeah. Is this a thing that's going to be a thing for him from now on?
Well, he said he learned it from the NFL, right? Because the coordinators sit up high so they can see how like plays are developing and what's working and what isn't. I also saw that headline in that story. I don't know what his takeaways were, and he was down on the touchline in the second half. So I like the idea of him being like, "Yeah, I did it. Didn't like it. Back down I go," and that's the end of that experiment. But I hope he learned something good. Doesn't he do this in training too?
Yeah,
doesn't he go up high in the cherry picker and then yell through a megaphone?
Imagine that. Imagine that's your manager shouting at you from a cherry picker.
I mean,
hang on.
It's a weird tendency. Like,
have you not seen this?
No.
Yeah, I think it was last season he was doing
totally
it. But then, like, isn't there a thing when Amorim like goes to another pitch to watch Manchester United train? Like, is this just a new thing where coaches are like, I want to coach them, but I want to be as far away from them as possible, please?
There's a different vibe with Amorim. I've seen pictures of him, like, there'll be a net between him and the pitch that's a mile away, and it's very much the sort of, I've made a huge mistake vibe.
No. It's not a great
different to Lucho's.
It really lends itself to bad optics pretty quickly. I mean, or, counterpoint, I believe Simeone finally let the heckling get to him, and he talked about how Anfield claims to have this great atmosphere, but really it's just like thousands of people heckling you, screaming at you for the entirety of the game, and eventually you respond, which maybe he responded too aggressively. Maybe this is Luis Enrique just being a genius and knowing you can't heckle me if I'm a mile above you in a glass box of emotion.
I presume Simeone was talking about the stadium Anfield, not the dog. Or is the dog heckling him as well?
Could be never bark alone.
Could be both. Well done.
There we go.
That's well done.
Very good.
We're done. That's it.
Luis Enrique, I'm picturing him on the cherry picker, like giving some instructions and then going beep, beep, beep as he lifts it all the way up to the top. No, wait a second. I've got to come back down again. Beep, beep, beep. You go over there. Beep, beep, beep. Goes back up. That's comedy.
He's just a good dude, Luis Enrique. I like him a lot. The picture of him sitting in the executive box watching this game, the first half of this game, and he's got like a laptop in front of him. I'm like, he's streaming on Twitch. Do you remember he did that during the World Cup for Spain? So maybe there was a Twitch stream out there somewhere.
Gotta love it. Okay, there we go. That's it for Wednesday's games. Listeners, stick with us for the next part where we'll go through all of Thursday's games. Full disclosure, as we record right now, those games haven't happened. We're going to make a substitution, I believe. Mr. Joe Larry might be joining us for the third part. I'm going to duck out. Got things to do. I've got to go get my cherry picker back up and working. I need to go and check out my yard from afar. It's really important for me. Anyway.
Beep, beep, beep.
I am also ducking out after this segment, so I just want to say, having watched those games, I can't believe that person and or team did that thing that was remarkable and or bad.
Well, I mean, McTominay's definitely winning the Ballon d'Or now after what he did.
I for one like the bits where the goals went in. How about you?
Interesting. I thought the controversial penalty was controversial, so I don't really know what to make of that one.
But, on balance, the right teams won.
Yeah, I think in the end.
Okay, very good. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Thursday's games with Graham and Joe.
Hello, and welcome back to the Total Soccer Show. I'm Ryan. No, I'm not. I'm not Ryan Bailey. I was going to do I love the 90s. I hate Scotland, but I tolerate Graham. Graham, I'm just going to give up.
Wow.
Ryan's not here.
He's here.
Yeah, it's me. It was me all along. I know. Like a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible mask pull-off is what really needed to happen there. For those watching on YouTube, you know that didn't happen. For the audio listeners, that's exactly what happened. Don't doubt it. Graham, I am taking the place of Ryan and also of Taylor. It's great to be here. We've downgraded in bodies and I don't know, maybe in other things too. I'm not really sure. But we do have games from Thursday to talk about. Yeah, we're definitely downgraded in 90s references, Simpsons references, all that stuff.
I was counting on Ryan and possibly Taylor to remember Tino Asprilla's famous hat-trick for Newcastle against Barcelona in 1997. Do you remember that game, Joe, vividly?
Yeah. Let's see. I think he scored a hat-trick in that game, if memory
that's right.
serves.
Nailed it.
Man, I'm good. They talked about that on the CBS broadcast, and they showed him in the stands.
He was there.
Looks like a nice lad, like just seems like a really, really good guy all the way around. Good soccer player, I'm sure. Graham, another good soccer player from the game that we're going to spend most of this segment on, which was Barcelona's 2-1 win at Newcastle. Another good soccer player that you didn't slander at all in our Slack chat at any point in this game is Marcus Rashford. It's Marcus Rashford scoring both of the goals for Barcelona in this game. No Lamine Yamal, he's out injured after national team duty. This was kind of turned into in the second half the Marcus Rashford game, which I'll be honest is not really what I expected.
Yeah, Newcastle fans can blame me because the very minute that I started to criticise Marcus Rashford in our Slack chat, he exploded in this game and potentially exploded as a Barcelona player. The first goal from Rashford is a nice run off the left into the middle of the shoulder of Chaaaaaaampiooooooons, and it's a great sort of like guided header from a Koundé cross. The second goal, though, is an absolute rocket and a sensational goal where he creates his own shot like just over 20 yards out, and then the pace and the speed and the power that he finds the back of the net with off the underside of the bar, which always makes goals look better, is just incredible. And it came just at the moment I was making the point to you, Joe, that I thought when you put Rashford in a team alongside Pedri and Firmino and Lamine Yamal when he's playing, he wasn't tonight. I just think for this Barcelona team, he's looked a little bit clumsy. He's looked a little bit a little bit out of sync. Some of his touches have been sloppy. There was times in this game. I mean, there was a good battle between Rashford and Trippier, particularly in the first half, and I thought Rashford was frequently doing the first bit really well. There was a moment in the first half where he sort of does a dummy and he has the whole opposition half to run into. But when it came to the execution in the moment, inside the box or in and around the area, it was just lacking. And I've kind of thought that in every game that I've watched him for Barcelona so far this season. So maybe that's just like teething issues or early season sloppiness. Maybe that will come, because I do think Marcus Rashford is a good player. But up until that moment, I just thought it was striking that when you put someone even as good as Marcus Rashford in a team alongside these Barcelona La Masia kids, he looks like technically just a level below them. but he sure showed me. What do I know?
Yeah, it's one of those takes, Graham, that's good to die in the Slack channel. That doesn't make it out on the social media, and that doesn't fully make it into the show in all of its purity. No, the thing is, I don't even necessarily disagree. This was a game of. Ultimately, it turned into a game of moments. And Marcus Rashford is a good enough soccer player that he can pull some moments out of his bag. I think for Newcastle, this result is a bit harsh for them. Frankly, I didn't really think that they were dramatically the worst team in this game. 2-1 feels much more fair than 2-0, which is what it seemed like it was going to be until Anthony Gordon gets the 90th minute goal back off of the Jacob Murphy ball in behind. I thought Newcastle were fine in this game. And I didn't think Barcelona were near their best, which shouldn't be a huge shock when they're missing their best player, who is Lamine Yamal. As good as Pedri is, as good as I think he is, Lamine Yamal being out of this team changes what Barcelona can do. I have a couple of Rashford thoughts, though, to stick with him for just a second. Grandma, you highlighted that moment where he dusts Kieran Trippier in the 9th minute of this game and races him behind. I think Rashford can bring some of that verticality, especially in a game like this against a Newcastle team that pressed so high for so long at the beginning of both halves. The intensity dipped at the end of both halves, which is only natural for human beings. But they did press aggressively, and they pressed man-to-man, way high up the field. Yeah. It was their 10 outfield players against Barcelona's 10 outfield players, and it was awesome. It was full-on rock and roll. Eddie Howe's Newcastle team at their best and most fun to watch. And I think in a game like this, and it clearly paid off for Rashford ultimately, and in future games, having Rashford where he can be a bit more of a straight-line, flat-track bully is useful. I think that makes sense. The other thing that makes me want to give Rashford a bit more time, and maybe that's an absurd sentence to say out loud in real life after he just scored a brace in the Champions League. But one of the things that makes me a bit more optimistic, maybe I'll say this, that he will look less clunky more often, is the fact that Barcelona, unlike a lot of the world's best possession teams right now, they are super fluid. Their double pivot is a great example of this. And you see this with De Jong and with Pedri. Those two players have the license to kind of drift and drop and move. And then you contrast that with Rodri at Man City as one example, or Chelsea. And we saw this all throughout last season under Maresca and over the summer when they win the Club World Cup. And we see it now, where you look at their deepest players, and those players are standing in very clear spaces. They don't have a ton of license to move and drop. Barcelona are so much more fluid, and I think that applies basically all the way around the field, especially in the pivot. But I think it does fit higher up in that attacking line as well. And it makes me think that once Rashford has a little bit more time to bed in, he can be really quite useful winger depth, which I don't really think either one of us would disagree with that as a concept. But this was a weird game of Rashford looking sort of odd and clunky and like he's just gotten here, which all those things are maybe true. And then also just completely changing the game, which is what happens sometimes.
Yeah, I thought broadly for Barcelona it was a bit of an uneven performance by them, because there was certainly moments, particularly in the first half, where they were bending, right, at the back. I thought Gerard Martin was having a tough time against Anthony Elanga. De Jong, as much as I am a fan of his, I thought he wasn't handling the defensive transitions very well in moments, which is his weakness. But after that early period where Newcastle come out the blocks in the first few minutes, and you said it, Joe. That's Newcastle at their absolute best. I said this in our Patreon episode this week. There are moments where watching this Newcastle team, particularly at St James's Park, is a sort of visceral experience. It makes me want to rip my shirt off.
I was ready to hop into that crowd. Yeah, I was 100%. I was beating my chest along with all those fans that were showing on the Paramount Plus broadcast. It was good. It was good stuff. Yeah.
And the tone is set in the very first minute where Anthony Gordon just races down on Joan Garcia, and they sort of force a high turnover Barcelona just flip a ball into the middle, and Newcastle are mopping up with their midfield three. They're sending them high, and they did that a good number of times, and they had the opportunity with them. There were two opportunities that come from Elanga down the right side, where basically the ploy from Newcastle was, and look, they'd clearly done their homework, because this is something that was a weakness for Barcelona. Teams started to figure out Barcelona a little bit, or at least how to attack them in the second half of last season. And the ploy is basically you pin their central defenders, and then you cycle the ball out to the wing. And in this game, it was the right wing, and you get runners in from deep. And there was one where Newcastle sent Elanga from very deep, and they had him jump up into the space behind, and that was really effective for Newcastle. So Their game plan was effective to a point for Newcastle. And you said it, Joe, they were taking risks at the back where they were going man for man. It was 3-for-3 at the back sometimes. And that made me a little bit nervous, because when it was Kieran Trippier and Fabian Schär and Dan Burn against Rafinha, Lewandowski and Rashford, I mean, all three of those Newcastle defenders are in their 30s. So there was a risk there. But I liked a lot of what Newcastle were doing in that first half. But after that early period, Pedri and De Jong in particular, I thought just started to take a grip of things. They took the sting out of Newcastle as they faded. And I mean, that second Newcastle goal really pops the balloon in St James's Park. So I don't think Barcelona had a great game, but this was probably a good sign of how high their floor is as a team now, and it's possibly higher than it was last season with Jan Garcia coming in, who made a good number of saves, and then Marcus Rashford signing on as a depth option as well, as you mentioned at the top of the segment. No Lamine Yamal for Barcelona, and last season they had trouble winning games when he was missing. So it feels like in that sense maybe this Barcelona team has progressed.
Yeah, I think there is still work for them to do to reach the level where they finished the end of last season, but that's not unusual, right? I mean, that's the sort of thing that we expect from every team after you go through something of an offseason, even as they get shorter, and come back in and try to build some of those things again, or at least build on top of where you were. Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't all that impressed with Barcelona in this game. I thought both teams were a bit flawed, where Newcastle, for the turnovers they created, not just at the start of the first half, but the second half, they had opportunities in the first 5-10 minutes of both of those periods, and it just didn't seem like they were quite active enough or quite efficient enough in their last couple of touches to really make Barcelona pay. And Barcelona, on the flip side, I mean, to be very clear about it, they needed a wonder strike, and they needed, I mean, we haven't talked about the header a whole lot from Rashford, but that is a great goal. Like, that is such a it's from the penalty spot to get the power that he does in the placement on a header from that far out, from 12 yards out, is so difficult to do. Barcelona didn't create spades of chances in this game, even though I agree they were probably the slightly better team on balance. They controlled the game a little bit more after those first 5-10 minutes of each half. I just didn't think that we saw Barcelona quite at their best in this game, which is kind of exciting in some ways, because where we left Barcelona last year, Graham, was in heartbreak after they had fallen to Inter in the semifinals in one of the greatest Champions League ties of all time. And now that we get to see this team become whatever it is that they're going to become, there are flaws. Yes, that makes them fun. Martin, I thought you mentioned him. He was legitimately poor in this game, was clearly the weak link in that back line. But I'm very much here for Barcelona. This will shock none of our regular listeners. I'm here for Barcelona continuing to be slightly flawed, but maybe becoming even better, or at least deeper, to the point you made earlier. I think that is possible for them at this stage. So
that's certainly where I come at things from with Barcelona, is once they get Lamine Yamal back into this team. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the impact that Marc Bernal, who I actually don't think makes the pitch in this game, because it's Casado that comes on late on. Very much enjoyed Casado to stop a late Newcastle break, like rodeoing on the back of, I can't remember who the Newcastle player was.
I have a pitch. I have a pitch for you. New rule for soccer, because I know exactly the moment you're talking about. The new rule is that if you commit a yellow card foul in defensive transition after the 80th minute of a game, it's a red card.
Red card,
what do you think?
I mean, it's one of those ones where, by the letter of the law, it's a booking, it's a correct decision from the referee, but it doesn't quite feel
It's so
fair.
unjust. It's so unjust. I think it's like, this is maybe the 90, it's deep in stoppage time. And this happens, and it's like, if I'm a Newcastle, it's the 97th minute, there it is. If I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm livid about this. Like, I hate it. It feels wrong to me. I think it should be a red. That's my pitch.
Yeah, so Casado, who comes on late in this game to, I guess, like sort of lock things down for Barcelona. Bernal, from everything that I've read and everything that comes out from within Barcelona, they rate him more highly for that role. And so when I'm saying things like De Jong was weak in defensive transition in this game, maybe that's Bernal by the time we get a few months down the line with this team, or at least maybe he's a rotation option for that role. So yeah, there's definitely ways that Barcelona can progress, and even in this game where they weren't great, I agree, you still see those signs.
Yeah. Impressive ultimately from Barcelona to get the result. I think there's some more growth for them to do. Newcastle, they've got a lot of time still, and I thought showed some nice things in this game. There's hope for them yet. Graham, let's go to another big game from Thursday, which was Manchester City and their 2-0 win over Napoli. We got the full return for Kevin De Bruyne, the full game. He played the whole match, and nothing happened at all that was strange or odd, right?
Antonio Conte, he cares not for sentiment.
Or ketchup, by the way.
Or ketchup, we know that by now. But unfortunately, this was a game that I had high hopes for, but it lost a lot of its edge, pretty much all of its edge, to be honest, with the red cards in the first half. And it was a justified red card because Di Lorenzo, he doesn't get anything on the ball. It goes to VAR, he takes down Haaland. As he's going through on goal, it's Dogso and he goes off. And possibly worse than that, certainly from a sentimental point of view, it's Kevin De Bruyne who Antonio Conte takes off on his Etihad Stadium return to reshuffle the team, which is It's a bold move. You almost have to respect it, how little he cared for that whole occasion. So, yeah, that was unfortunate. And the game dynamic it basically became defence versus attack for the rest of the match. And Milinkovic-Savic, who made a late move, I think, to Napoli as their kind of new starting goalkeeper. He's replaced Merritt in the team. He made a good number of saves in this match. And Napoli, they did a decent job of restricting Man City, but it just felt inevitable that ultimately they would find a way through, and that's what they did in the second half. And it was two bits of magic that broke open the game. The first one is a little scoop by Phil Foden over the top for Haaland to head in. The second goal is all about Jeremy Doku, who just dribbles through the Napoli defence and then finishes really nicely. He started the season really well, and I always thought that Jeremy Doku's issue, I find him quite a frustrating player because you can see the ability clearly. But I personally always think with a dribbler like him, like a wide dribbler, you want that player to go in slowly and come out quickly. I always think that's the way you want to approach those one-on-one situations. I thought until this season, Doc used to do the opposite. He used to go in quickly and then slow down the game and stand up the defender, and then it become easier to play against. I don't know whether someone's had a word with him over the summer, because I noticed this at the Club World Cup. He's not doing that any longer, and it feels like he's been given a bit more freedom by Pep Guardiola. We saw this in the Manchester derby, where he was drifting in centrally to create overloads. Didn't do so much of that in this game, but it just feels like he's becoming a real key player for this Man City team. And in this game he was decisive.
I love that observation, Graham. That's not something I've noticed, but I think there's a lot of merit to that concept, because you need to have the body control to get out of those moments. And Doku has been on fire so far this season. We did the top 5 Premier League teams, like the most watchable ones. Doku might be in my top 5 most watchable players in England at the moment. So I love that shout. Looking around briefly, the rest of the games from today's action in the Champions League. Club Brugge beating Monaco 4-1. Folarin Balogun starts in that game, does not end up scoring. Leverkusen on the road at Copenhagen, draw 2-2. Malik Tillman gets yanked after 50 minutes. I think I saw Jeff Ruder on Blue Sky talk about no substitution hits quite as hard as you getting 5 minutes after halftime to show something that you didn't show in the first half, and then getting pulled off after just 5 minutes. A tough one there from Malik Tillman. Frankfurt beating Galatasaray 5-1. We talked about the Man City and the Barcelona games, and then Sporting Club de Portugal beating everybody's Cinderella team, Kairat Almaty, that may or may not have been written about in a certain newsletter that Graham Ruthven may or may not. Right? Yep, 100%. Right back at you. Graham, let's park all this right here. I'm sure the first segments of the show were great. I'm sure they were really good, but I'm sure this was the best one. Graham Ruthven, thank you so much for all of your efforts today. And to Ryan and to Taylor, thank you guys. Mostly thank you, Graham.
There were more 90s reference actually in this segment, so you really are coming for Ryan's job. Thank you, Joe Lowry.
It's not that hard. I just look up 90s stuff and then I try to sneak it in throughout. I mean, I assume that's what Ryan does, right? I mean, he can't remember all this stuff. He's too old. Listeners, exactly. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode. We will be back in your feeds tomorrow, but for now, bye!